Okay, now we're on YouTube as well. Yay. So on this machine here, what I have is an instance of every major Cosmos chain. Gaia, Osmosis, Sif, Akash, Sentinel. A couple of them are not yet up, but should be later today. I was finishing the snapshots, and when all of this is in action, it looks kind of like this. So, and this computer is really pretty intense. It's a 32 core CPU with 128 gigs of RAM, and at times I'm actually able to put it under load with the stuff that I'm running on it now, which is great. Should make it work. Wasn't terribly cheap. So what I'll walk through in just a second here is kind of working on Cosmos SDK chains using Starport in Arch Linux. I want to just encourage anybody, if you have any questions whatsoever at any time, please just interrupt me. And otherwise, I'll kind of go at my normal pace and I'll explain what I'm doing as I go. This would be like the third or fourth time that I have re-scaffolded a testnet chain to line up with changes made in the Starport template. So if we go to GitHub, now Starport is a fairly big program. It does lots of things. And one of those things, probably the core feature, is its ability to make blockchain development a lot like web development. If you go here into this templates folder, you find templates for IBC packets, templates for messages, templates for modules, queries, the test utility, and the creation of types. But the main one that we're going to work with is just app, which is basically like the core file of the chain. And what you can see, right, if we go into, well, probably the best example is app.go. App.go is the key file in any chain that uses the Cosmos SDK. And it's the place where all of the different components come together. What you can see is that there are all of these placeholder texts in it. When you fire up Starport, like we're about to do, and scaffold a chain, those variables are filled in for you, and that's how it does its magic and allows you to create chains with consistent quality. Prior to Starport, the work that Starport automates, and I'm dating myself a little bit, this goes back as far as 2018, but to get to the point in development where we will get probably in the next 30 minutes, it actually took me about 6 months of kind of stumbling around in the dark and not really knowing what to do next, but Starport makes all of that very clear. And for those of you from Neo, that's a project, that's how I met Clint, was that project. And here we go. So do it on the Linux machine. And let's see. When working in Go, it's always important to have your Go path set. And you can typically do that in your bash profile or .bashrc file. This machine just doesn't have it set yet. Go. Okay, now we're all set to begin working in Go, and when we invoke commands or build things, they will be able to execute because the Go bin is on the path. All right, and the next step would be to grab starport. So I work with starport a lot. First thing we're going to do is get rid of the old copy of starport. It's a pretty huge program. One of the things that it does in that Git repository I was showing you before, there are a lot of binaries. They are there basically for convenience. When you're using starport, even though you use it to work with Node.js code, you do not need to install Node. And the reason for that is that the Node binary is actually built into starport, as well as a number of others that you would use while you're building a chain, like proto-C for proto-buffers. That's the protocol buffers compiler. It seems we're gonna wait for a moment. So, does anybody have any questions or things you'd like me to go over while we're here today?
This is the Melvin equipment for me and Bridget. We can't get this to work.
What can't you get to work?
Just the download of starport on the Raspberry Pi.
Okay, so check this out, John. The reason you can't get the download of starport to work on the Raspberry Pi is that the Raspberry Pi has an ARM CPU, and at one point, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I came into the chat and I said, it works, but you know what, it turned out that only half of it works. Typically, launching a blockchain, okay, is kind of like this.